Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do the second half of the session we started last week where we drew these sailboats, and today we're going to paint them. I've uploaded a recording of the Zoom session that we did with the Friends of the Stirling Library, and this is the painting we made. And I think you're going to really enjoy it. And at the if you watch all the way to the end, at the end I will give you some more information on what sessions we have coming up next month in December, and also in January. We have some great fun things planned, and I will put links to where you can get more information about that in the description section below as well. So now let's join that class already in progress.
And I wanted to I know we talked about it last time, but just to tell you, we are lucky to have Christine come back for 4 more classes, and those are going to be December 4th and December 11th, and then again in January on January, hold on, let me get my 15th and 22nd.
Do you know what they're going to be?
I'm sorry, January 8th and 22nd.
Do you know the topic?
Yes.
Go ahead, Christine. You tell them what the topic is.
Okay, well, on December 4th, and I've already forgotten what that next date is, 11th, I think.
Yeah.
The 2 in December, we'll be doing tie-dye letters, which is a watercolor foundation with mixed media stuff, adding details. And I think Julie calls it puffy letters. I do my name frequently when I do that. I have a YouTube video if you want to check that out, and I did my name. But you can pick any word you want, like you can pick a holiday themed word or any word, and we're gonna create some letters, and then I'm going to show you how to paint really, really loose watercolor and have your watercolors. It's a good practice for learning how to get your watercolors to mingle together on your paper. And then we'll add all kind of mixed media details to that and make a beautiful mixed media piece of artwork. And then the 2 dates in January, the first one we're going to paint a beach scene, and it'll actually be a scene from Hollywood Beach based on a photograph I took myself there. And then for the final one, we're going to do a mixed media version of a blue tang fish, very similar to the Key West chicken video that I have on my YouTube channel.
Sounds great. And the first one, the reason why we picked the puffy letters in December is that you might actually want to make somebody's name and give it to them as a gift for a holiday gift. So it looks really nice. Go on Christine's YouTube channel and you can take a look. But also, you know, Christine has the toucan and the flamingo and both parts of these sailboat drawing and painting on her YouTube channel. So you can take a look, and can help you with today's painting as well. So Jackie, what?
How do we sign up for these?
Oh, on YouTube?
No, for the next 4 classes.
You're going to get, okay, I'm glad you said that. We are working on a flyer that'll have the the registration link on it. And just be on the lookout, because the library is helping us put the flyer together with the link, and then you'll be able to register the same as this time. You'll use the one link for all 4 classes. Okay? And the YouTube, you just go to YouTube and then put in Christine Artist, and it'll come up.
And Jackie said she'll post it, in the chat?
Yes, Jackie.
We'll post it. I have everything set to be posted as soon as we're ready to start. So I'll try posting it twice in there. I have her YouTube channel, her Facebook link, and her website, so you guys can look at all of it. So I'm sorry, Julie, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's it. I was going to ask you if you had anything else. So we're ready to start.
I don't think we really need to introduce Christine to anybody. Just that, I will put all of that into the chat box. I've already put the dates in there. We don't really need to worry about what we'll be painting, because that's going to be sent out. And also, Julie told me that I could do a real quick little plug on this. Christine, I think it was last month, was a guest speaker for an art group that I'm still involved in California. And that actually also is on her YouTube channel. But we're also doing, next Thursday, we're doing another presenter, Robert Dvorak, who is another watercolor painter, and he's a lot of fun. All of you guys are invited to join. You just have to email and ask for a link. I will put links for Robert's stuff so you can see it, and I will also put the email where you have to ask for the link. It's Pacific Coast time, so you guys are going to have to make sure that you convert that. The meeting starts at 11 o'clock, so I think it's 2 o'clock here. But Christine had a lot of fun with it, I think, Christine, didn't you? So it's free. It's just a demo. If you guys want to join us, you're welcome to, and I'll post all of that stuff. So thanks, Christine. Go for it.
Yep, thanks.
Okay.
We're ready to roll.
Okay, let's get going. I am going to take just a second here and pin myself to my screen so I can make sure that that gets in my video that I'm making, and also so I can make sure that I'm showing you what I think I'm showing you when I'm telling you, look at this right here, and if it's the wrong screen or I've had it out of the frame or whatnot. But anyway, this is me. Hi. Now I'm switching you to my desktop, and what I've got right here is you can see I've got the reference photo up in the corner, and then there's me again, little, and you'll probably see the top of my head while I'm painting. I haven't figured out a way to make that stop yet. This right here on my desktop, this is a picture of, it's a sample of what we're going to do today. Now, if you remember, and I'm going to go ahead and take this off of here because I'm painting right on this watercolor block today. If you remember, last session we made drawings to practice the drawing and also to show you what you needed to put on your watercolor paper. I'm assuming everyone's got that drawn on their watercolor paper now, but if you don't, I'm going to run through it real quick because it's just going to take me a couple of minutes to put this drawing on here. But I want to remind you, don't do much erasing on your watercolor paper, and don't do any shading. So like in this area here where I've shaded this hair, you do not do that on your watercolor paper when you get ready to make a drawing that you're going to paint. I am working, and if you've got a value study that you did, keep that nearby because this comes in really handy when you're making your choices of where to put your dark paint, and also where to remember not to put any paint at all so that you get that area stays white. Because in watercolor, remember, we do not paint light over top of dark. For example, we will not paint a blue sky and then go back and paint a white sail in front of it. It does not work that way in watercolor. So let me set my value study aside, and I was going to tell you, I'm working on a watercolor block. It means all of these pieces of paper are glued together on their sides except for one part of one side right in here. If you can see that, that part's not glued right there. So that's how I'll separate that paper off when I'm finished. But when you work on a watercolor block, you don't have to tape your paper down to a board. If you're not using a watercolor block and you've just got a single piece of watercolor, something like this that's loose, you definitely want to tape that down to a board. And when I say tape it down, use some tape like this, a nice good adhesive that will hold your paper flat to that board so that it won't warp and go all wonky when you put a bunch of water on it. All right, now I'm going to set this aside and just put my copy of the reference photo right here for if you don't already have your boat drawn. Remember, we just drew a figure 8 on its side. I got that one way closer to the side than I wanted. I think it's worth me stopping to fix it. And this is where I think I showed you last week, if you draw a couple of straight lines to kind of help you gauge the position of where you want your boat to be. So I'm going to just fudge a little bit. I want my boat to be about right here. So I'm going to put a figure 8 over on its side, and it's a narrow one. And then I'm just going to put the sides of the boat on. I'm going to put the panels. It really doesn't take long to draw it. And remember, you don't want to put in details because we're going to do the details with our paintbrushes. So I'm just putting in the sides and bottom of the boat there. And this is the water line. And there's the boat. And I'm going to take out that line right there because we don't need that. And we need a little bit of detail in the back end of the boat where there's openings. Do I have that in the frame? Yeah. I don't know what these are for, handholds or where you can tie stuff off. I have no idea, but I see them there, so I'm just putting them in there. Then to put a man in the boat, you just put a kind of a blocky shape right here. Put a curved line for some shoulders on him. Draw an arm over there. He needs a head, so I'm going to put a big circle, and I'm going to squish it right down on there because I think he's hunched in on himself because it's a cold weather day. Put a line for his ball cap, and a line for the bill, a little bitty line for the sunglasses. And then we need, let's see, I got a little cleanup again. Erasing a few things. Is that me having a echo, or is someone else unmuted?
No, I think I got it, Christine. I muted everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, his arm and the oar are, you can see the oar is just looking like an extension of his arm. So we're just going to make a little arm. Oops, I forgot. He needs a knee. He needs a leg there. So I'm going to put that up, a little kind of a triangle right there. Then I put this arm coming right out here, draw the end of his sleeve, and then continue that oar. It kind of passes behind the corner of the boat and comes out over here. And then in order to put this curved end on it, I just kind of bump it out a little and then back down into the water. Same thing on the other side. And put the water line there. Then we're going to put the little bump right there. It's so small you really can't see it good. Let me see if I can zoom in. I think that's my zoom in button. Yes, it is. And we're a little blurry, but I think my camera will focus in a second. Let's see if I hold it up here. Yeah, there. Okay. So I just put a little tiny bit of a bump right there to indicate his hand. We don't need a whole lot of detail because it's tiny and it's far away. So don't stress too much about the detail on that. We're gonna put the right color paint on there, and it's gonna look like a hand. Now let's see. I need to draw a little bit right under here to put the underneath side of his sleeve and get that jacket looking like it's kind of bunched up there in front of him because he's sitting down. Erase those little bit of extra details. There's a little bit more. And I'm drawing very light because you need to draw very light on your watercolor paper. Now, to put the mast in, we want to go looking at your reference photo, using the front and back of the side of the boat as a reference. You'll see that that mast is a little bit closer to the front of the boat, so we want to make it come up a little closer to the front. And for size, you measure the length of the boat on the reference, then you measure the height of the mast, and you can see it's a little bit higher. Maybe I should put the pencil on this side. You can see that mast is a little bit higher or a little bit longer than the length of the boat. So I'm going to measure the length of the boat that I drew, and then I'm going to measure to a spot a little bit higher than that for my drawing. And I also don't want the line to go straight up, so that mark's a little bit in the wrong place, but that's okay. I'll erase it in a minute. But there goes the mast right there. And then we need a boom. That's this line here. So again, measure on your boat, and you'll see the boom line is just a tiny bit longer than the length of the boat. So, and it comes out just a little bit, it starts a little bit above the side of the boat there and goes kind of in this shoulder and out the neck area over there. So that gives you an idea how to place it here. And it should end a little bit past the back end of the boat. So I've got a target to draw to right there, and I'm going to just start right here, and I'm going to make a line right over to that dot, and there's that boom is drawn in. We have this other line here, which is I'm measuring the mast and then measuring and seeing that that line is shorter. So let me measure the boom and see how it compares with that. And that line is longer. So we want something that's shorter than this, longer than this. So I'm going to just take the measurement of the mast there, and I'm going to put it right here. It needs to start a little bit above his head, and it comes out to in a line. If you imagine a line straight up from the back of his head, so that would be on my picture right here. So it needs to come out to right about there. So it starts here, goes to there. I'm going to put that little dot and then start here and just draw that line. And it's behind the sail here, so it's actually, it's not in a line here. This pole or whatever it is comes right down here, but it's behind the sail and you don't see it. So I'm going to just start drawing it right down towards that, and then I'm going to go to right up here and put the sail in. And that means I don't need that. And it's going to go to a point back in a little bit from the end. So I'm going to shoot for right there and just kind of make that sail go something like that. And there we've got the drawing on there. And again, I told you last week, I'm not going to draw in the trees and stuff in the background. We're going to put that in with our paintbrushes, but I am going to go ahead and draw this horizon line because that will help us a little bit. So where you want to put that in, if you haven't already, as you can see, this comes in right in about a level with the middle of his head there. So somewhere in this vicinity, just draw a straight line across there to indicate where your where the land is meeting the water. Now we've got everything drawn on there, and it's time to break out the paints and the paintbrush. So I'm going to clear some space here just a little bit. I'm going to put this back here so it's out of the way, and that way I can leave my painting right here. It doesn't show, does it? No. Well, I'll just put it aside, and every once in a while I'll pull it back out and show it to you. Now you'll need paper towels and water. That's what that is, and I'm not going to pull it totally in the frame because you'll be able to know what that is, I'm sure. Okay, I got a new camera and my whole palette doesn't quite fit in the frame here, but hopefully that is pretty close. And this gets, you know what, I'm going to have to push it over a little so that the whole painting is in the frame. But I'll be telling you what color I'm using, so hopefully that's going to work good. All right, now for paintbrushes, I'm going to start out with something like a 1 inch or a 3/4 inch flat but angled brush. I like my brushes to be angled instead of flat. The difference there, what I'm talking about is, let's see if I can find one to show you. Here we go. This one is flat, but these are flat also, but they're angled. And by flat, it means, you know, when you're looking at it like that, it's a flat paintbrush versus a round one like this. And we're not going to worry too much about what brand it is. You paint with whatever brand you like, what you have on hand. Now I've got some smaller flats and angles that I may grab, and I have a small, I'm going to use this one. I have a small round and a larger size round. This is a big one. This, by small, here's the difference. You can probably see the difference in the sizes compared to my hand. I won't use this one very much because if I use this tiny brush to do too much painting, my whole painting is going to be tight and not as pretty. It will just look, my painting will look nervous. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's what I mean. The painting won't look as good if you use too small a brush. So always use the largest size brush that you are comfortable with using. And I'm going to start out, like I said, with this 1-inch flat angled brush. And I'm also going to take a couple of little boxes. These I keep my erasers and my pencil sharpener and things like that in here. I'm going to just put them down there and prop my paper up just a little bit, so I have just a slight angle going on, not a whole lot. It's that high up from the ground at this end, but also it's a thick thing, so not even quite that much of an angle, just the least little bit of angle. And I'm going to do that. You can do that if you have something there handy, easy to do that, but if you don't worry about it. You can do this all with your paper completely flat. My water thing is making a shadow on the painting, so I'm just going to move that over. Again, I showed you it's just a container of water, so you'll know what I'm doing even though it's out of the frame. Now I'm going to get clean water and just start painting it right here on my paper. The only thing I'm not going to do is I'm going to not get water right here where the sail is going to go, because I don't really want my paint color going in there in the sail area. And by putting water all over here, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to get my sky and my background. We're going to do the background first and then paint the guy in the boat in, because it's just easier to get nice sharp details where we want them that way, rather than trying to paint the background around the sailboat once we're finished. So we're going to do it this way, and I am painting clean water all the way around the sail. It doesn't matter if water gets on the guy, because we're going to paint him having a really dark jacket on. So you can paint dark over top of light in watercolor, so that won't be a problem. I'm going to skip the oar just because I like the idea of having the colors that I'm going to put in there for the oar be very clean and fresh. Are you having trouble seeing? I just glanced up at my camera and it kind of looks like it's going in and out of focus. If that's
it's a little bit light and slightly out of focus.
Okay. Let's see if I can try this and see what happens. Still out of focus, isn't it? I set it on autofocus. It's a new camera. I think I told you. I set it on autofocus and I don't think it's doing a very good job. And let me just take a half a second here and see if I can switch over to my camera settings and see if I can't. Well, you know what? It's not going to let me do that. Well, I don't know how to fix that right now. That's disappointing. Let's just see if I can fix any little thing at all to make it look in better focus. Tell me if this is better or worse for focus and being able to see the lines.
Honestly, I don't know about anybody else, but I think it might be worse.
Okay. Let me put it back like it was. How's that? That's not good either, is it? The way this program works, I have to switch to a different screen, make the adjustments, and then go back to the Zoom screen to see what it looks like. Still blurry. I apologize. These camera issues are making me a little crazy.
Christine?
Yep.
It is blurry, but I think once you get the paint on it, it might start really popping for everybody.
Yep, I think so too.
Then let's just, I'm going to put it back basically like it was before we started. And get out of this and go back to just working on the painting. Okay, so again, we're just putting water all the way around that sail, and we're not going to worry too much if it gets on the man or the boat. And in fact, go ahead and make sure you get water on those areas under here. Like there's some of the water showing through right in there and a little bit right here and here. So you want to make sure you get some water on there, and we're going to put some color on there because it's a whole lot easier to do it now than it will be to try and go back in there and get something in those little areas and have it look like it flows easily with the rest of the sky and water. So go ahead and put that on there. Don't worry if it gets on the guide, because we'll be able to paint that to look right. And once you've got water all over your page and everything is really nice and wet, then we're going to get some color and throw some color on there. Now I've got my paper really saturated with water. I want it to be that way because I want to be able to play with the color that I put on there for the sky a little bit and not worry that my brush strokes are going to show because my paint's drying too quick. The paint won't dry too quick as long as I've got the paper nice and saturated. Although if you're painting with your paper flat, you're not going to want big wet puddles laying there on your paper. You just want a nice sheen of moisture that you can see when you tilt your page in the light. You can see it looks wet all over it, but it's not got puddles. Okay, then I'm going to take some blue, and I'm using a Verditer blue, which is like a light sky blue. I'm just going to throw some in there and then get some water on the brush and just start spreading that around. And I don't have to be cautious about the direction of my strokes because my page is plenty saturated. And then I'm going to put a little bit more down here, a little bit lower, and leave some area in there white because I want that to look like clouds are going across the sky there. And it's also okay if what you're putting on there right now gets really light, because the sky is light, but also this is our underpainting. So we're not going to be looking for this to have a whole lot of strong color right now. Now I'm going to rinse most of that color out of my brush, tamp it off on the paper towel, and then just use that to just kind of muss that paint around and shape the clouds the way that I want them. And when I paint my sail, I'm going to have some shadow right in here, so it's going to be a little bit darker here than it is right here, so that's going to be good. This edge, I'm going to leave it white against mostly a white cloud because I will have a little bit of the brown of that pole right there. So that's going to show up good. Otherwise, it's not normally good to have your edges be lost because, you know, this is white and this is white and they're the same value and you're not going to be able to see that. But I've got enough other stuff going around the other parts that this is going to work. Now I'm going to continue that blue, but I'm going to add a little tiny bit of a darker, maybe a blue-green color. So if you don't have a blue-green, just mix some green into your blue, make your blue a little bit darker color overall. And I'm going to just start putting that right in here where this horizon line is, or the line where the land meets the water. And I'm going to put that right in there, put some in there, put some there. And then I'm going to green it up a whole lot more for in here and just kind of scrub some paint right across there. And then do some horizontal lines kind of like that because that helps to indicate water laying flat there. And I want to leave some white areas up in the top part. And since I don't have as much white over here as what I wanted, I'm going to clean my brush off, dry it on the paper towel, and then use that mostly dry brush to drag some of that paint out of there in a mostly straight line. And that will help to create some ripples and some lighter areas, because as you can see, the water is it's not all one solid color, and we've got mostly left to right lines indicating this water there, and that it's, you know, it's got a little bit of ripples in it, but it's water lays flat. It's not really, unless you're out in the ocean and you got big waves, the water's not standing up. It's laying flat. So you can use a clean, mostly dry brush to move some of that paint around if you didn't like where it came out. Make sure the bottom is still wet, and then take some more paint and just kind of get yourself some left to right lines going to put some water in there with a little bit of ripples showing. And you can vary up the color of it and put some greener in parts than you want in others. That's because these trees and things, the light's reflecting and bouncing off the trees and getting in the water and making it a little bit yellow, but I mean green, but not a lot. And I'm going to put white down here, I mean blue, sorry, blue down here in the bottom, and leave some white areas because that's where light's hitting on the water. So now you can see there's some bumpy spots here. I've got that much water on here that my paper's trying to warp up. That is because I put a lot of water on, and now I'm going to need to let this dry to not bone dry, but a lot drier than it is right now, so that I can paint the next layer on top, because this, what we've done is our underpainting, and we've painted the background, and we're going to paint a lot of more stuff over top of this to make this look more like water and have it a darker, some color with more punch to it. But we need to let it dry. And one way that I can gauge if the paper's ready is if it's mostly laid back down flat. And also I touch it with the backs of my hands. Right here, I just touch it lightly. And if it feels cold and damp, it's still too wet. So when it's not feeling quite so cold and damp, then it's okay to put the next layer on. But sometimes when you're glazing, I think I'm trying to think what class we did this for. Maybe for the toucan, when we did that class, I told you let it get completely bone dry before you paint your background on that. That's a different technique than what we're working on today. So for this type of painting, this type of background and going back in and putting the color on, we don't need it the whole way bone dry. And in fact, when it's still a little bit wet, when you put some color on there, it'll kind of melt down into that damp paper and get the right effect that we're looking for. So that's what we're doing there. Now, since my paper is still too wet to continue, does anybody have any questions at this point?
Wow, looks like you're doing a great job. Nobody has any questions?
Either that or I've pulled them right over and they're completely overwhelmed. Hopefully
No, we're all
that's the
painting.
situation.
I'm still working on my putting my color down. I don't know if anybody else is.
If you need a little more time, yeah, I rushed through that because I feel like I need to rush so that I'm available then to answer questions if you have any. I see Amy says she's busy catching up. So I'm going to continue having a drink of water so I don't get too much of a scratchy throat from talking. And you guys paint and catch up. And I guess I can turn the chat on and just see if there's any more questions.
No, Christine, I checked. I'll let you know.
Okay. Someone
There's
made
other
a request for the reference photo. Ann Oakes, did you get that, Jackie? She wants the reference photo.
Ann, did you send that to Everybody or just Christine?
Amy, I did send it to you. I'll go with you through the chat, okay?
Amy or Ann? This is Ann Oakes.
Oh, Ann Oakes. Okay, Ann, just chat with me, okay? And I'll take care of it for you.
And everybody, if you have stuff, make sure what you're doing is putting it to everybody. Then that way Julie and I can see it. We don't have to bother Christine because there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat that she doesn't really need to fool with. Well, I mean, you're welcome to it, Christine, but it's not something that matters right now.
Well, I didn't see it until just now. So, you know, if you put it in the chat to everybody so that Julie and Jackie can see it as the hosts, they're helping me answer your questions and calling things to my attention.
Okay, so Elaine would like to know, she's trying to figure out where did you add the green? And
okay.
Let's see, Sally wants to know, how did you get your picture instead of your name on the screen to appear? I'm not sure what that means.
Could it mean, Sally, that your video isn't turned on? You have to turn on your video and then we can see you? Is that what you mean?
Also, go in your Zoom settings on your Zoom account, and in your settings on your Zoom account, there'll be a place to edit your profile and you can put your picture there. If that's what you're talking about, a picture of yourself that shows up with your name. Otherwise, my name shows up because this is my device, I think. And I have named my device my name. So, because that's why sometimes you see it just says iPad. Someone's accepted the default name of their device. But anyway, back to the painting questions. In order to put a little bit of green in, I just put a little green. Let me show you on the reference photo here. As I was painting, when I got down in this part, I used the same blue that I had used from the sky. I added more of that blue, so in other words, less water, but more of that blue to get a little bit stronger strength of paint. And then I added a bit of green into it to start getting this green going in here. Just a little bit, because the green light reflects and gets into the water a little bit. When we go to the next step, which my paper is almost ready for that, when we get to the next step, we're going to paint these mountains in the distance here. And what will happen is I'm going to start with the same blue that I used for the sky. I'm just going to darken it up a little bit with a little bit more dark blue into the mix. And then I'm going to paint the distant mountains. And then I'm going to add a little bit of green to that. Whatever puddle of that is left over, I'm going to add a little bit of green and a little bit darker blue and make the next layer of darker color so that we'll be painting these dark background mountains. Then we're going to paint the next layer and I'll, that's not a good example. We'll paint right over here. And then we'll paint the next really dark stuff here. And then we'll go back in and start adding more color. And so as soon as we get ready to that, I'll go a little slower so that you can see what I'm talking about. And we're almost there. I really put a lot of water on this paper. I guess because I was talking. Anyway, so I hope everybody is just about caught up and ready to move to the next step. Although if your paper isn't dry enough, let me just drink some more water and give you ample time. I think we have plenty of time to do this, because if it's too wet, you won't be able to put these distant mountains in. They'll just spread too much and spread out and get all in the sky, and it won't look right. So we don't want to go forward with when there's still too much water in the paper.
Christine, while you do that, while you have your water, I think that's something that probably all of us struggle with, is just how to control how much water you get on the paper. I know I do, and each kind of paper is different. And I find that some of these blocks, while you think they're going to be great, I have a real problem with them and inevitably end up with too much water on them in this phase.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point that's something you can help us address.
Okay. Some of the major questions can be solved just by buying the right paper. This paper I love. It's not quite going into focus as well as I wish that it would. Give it a second here and see if it'll, yeah, there we go. Okay, see how it says rough right here? And it's, where's the weight? Right here, 140 pound, and the brand is Arches. All of those things are good, and this is a watercolor block. I don't have too much trouble with that brand. This block I'm using today is a new brand I'm trying, and so far I like it pretty good. It's Aquarello Fabriano. Let's see, yeah, you can read that. And it's also 140 pounds, but this one is cold pressed. So it's not as rough a surface as the rough paper. But I bought that other one because when I went to get paper, they didn't have cold press in the Arches that I wanted. When you paint with what we frequently use when we're in the library, I bring this paper right here. This is decent quality paper, but it's not going to behave the same as those other papers, even though it is still 140 pound and it's watercolor paper and it's cold press. You can see that. This Canson brand, it's okay. I actually, this isn't the one, I took some glue. These come in loose sheets, and so I take these out and tape them down to a board, and that helps prevent, one second, that helps prevent a lot of the warping, but you still get it when you put a lot of water, and when you're doing a really wet into wet technique, you're gonna constantly be struggling to not get your paper warping. I bought some, this is one of those Canson pads. I bought some glue and I clamped this thing together and I smeared glue all over all the sides, except for I left a little opening right there. I made my own watercolor block, and that makes this paper work better, I think. So those are just some tips. But I will say to you too, it is extremely important that whatever paper you buy, because like the Canson paper is less expensive, the Arches paper is very expensive. Whichever paper you buy, be consistent with it. Don't be switching back and forth from one brand to another brand, because the papers respond differently to the amounts of water and to how they receive or take the paint, and you're not going to get consistent results, and you're going to think it's yourself that not knowing how to paint, but that isn't it. It's you need to use the same paper for a while so that you get familiar with how it reacts to the water and to the paint, and you'll save yourself a lot of heartache and stress and telling yourself, oh, I just can't paint watercolors too hard. It's not that. It's, you need to be consistent. Always use the same kind of paper until you've gotten familiar with and comfortable with. And you'll find even that's also true a little bit to the quality of paint that you're using and the type of brushes that you're using. So just get some and then stick with that and learn to get the results you want with those things. And the only time I would say to change to a different paper is if you've really worked on it for a while and you just don't find you're getting what you want, then maybe switch to a different brand, but paint on that brand of paper for a while and don't be constantly switching back and forth. That'll give you trouble. All right, this paper is, I can tell from the feel it's ready. It's still a little bit warped, but I'm just going to go forward with it. Got a little bit of a eraser dirt on top of there. Okay, so what I want to do next is I'm going to take my, where did I put it? There, my smaller flat angle brush, and I'm going to go back into that blue paint and just get myself another little puddle going here and darken that up a bit. There, that's good. I don't want this first batch to be very green at all because it's the distant mountains, and we also don't want it really strong because we need the value of it to be a little bit lighter in order to indicate that it's farther away. Someone explained to me one time that we were talking about atmospheric perspective, and what that means is to paint something that the atmosphere of your painting is what gives the depth and the look of perspective to it, and how you can think about that to understand it is if you're looking at from right where you are right to a tree that's right in front of you, like 5 feet in front of you, and then look past that to a mountain that's way far away. Think about how much atmosphere or air is in between you and the tree versus how much air is in between you and those faraway mountains. And there's always particles of dust and stuff like that floating in that air. And those dust particles and things are going to kind of act as like a filter to kind of blur out what you see that's far away. And so the farther away it is, the more of that dust is going to be in the air, and the more it's going to blur out and gray down what you're seeing that's farther away. So we're going to put some mountains in the distance here that are not very strong pigment. They're not very dark, and they've got almost a little bit of a grayer look to them. So I'm going to take this blue color that I just mixed up, and I'm going to see where my line is. That's where the land hits the water. And a little bit above that, I'm going to just start scrubbing in some distant mountains. And just put that right up to the sail and then right down to the water line. And you can add water here. It doesn't matter because we're going to paint over the top of that. But you just want it to be nice and solid right down to there. Get some more. I don't like the shape of that one, so I'm going to just use the tip of my brush to kind of indicate something a little different there. Then I'm going to put this in here, have it come down. I don't want a straight across line. That's my point. I want there to be some shape to this. And then just fill that right in, and you can water it down to fill it right down to the line where it meets the water. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I like there to be some level of consistency behind there. But it's really not even necessary. We're going to paint some more stuff over top of it, and it isn't going to be a problem. Okay, now I'm going to darken that puddle with some more blue, and I'm going to put a little bit of a greenish colored paint. I've got some transparent turquoise here that I'm going to throw in there. But I don't want to green it up too much because that's making it warm. And I do want this a warm color because I think, what is that saying? Cool colors come forward, warm colors recede. I think I have that right. But you don't want it really strong. By that, I mean you want it to be diluted enough that it's not going to jump too forward too quickly. So I'm taking that blue that I've greened up a little bit, and I'm going to put another line of trees and mountains right up in here. And once again, bring it right down to the bottom edge there. And I'm going to think that it gets a lot lower right there, and then I'm going to send it back up. And in fact, I want it to go way up right here, because I'm going to put some yellow on there to indicate light, sunlight hitting those treetops. So I'm just going to bring that right up underneath there. And I like that. Although I don't like that you can't see it really good on my screen. So I'm going to make one more attempt to quickly make some adjustments to get it where you can see that better. Although when I'm looking at it in my broadcast software, it really looks different. It looks like you can see it better. Not sure what's going on there. I'm just going to put it back to the defaults. Oh, that's really dark.
Really dark is easy to see, though.
Yeah. So, can you see the difference in the two colors between this and this? That's what I'm trying to make it that you can see that, because you'll need to be able to catch that difference.
I think you can. If anybody disagrees, raise your hand or throw it in the chat. Amy thinks darker is better, and I do too, Christine. I think you can see it better when it's darker.
Okay, let me just go right back to this.
Diane doesn't see a difference.
Okay, that's really dark, but do you like it like that, or do I need to brighten it up just a little bit? Actually, I'm thinking we're going to go with that, because that's what looks closest. So we're going to go with that. You can see a little bit of difference. Maybe I'll just put a little bit more. I'll put a little more blue in it. I'll exaggerate it on the one that I'm painting, and hopefully that will get us there.
Thanks. Suzanne says she thinks that's good, and I think you can see a difference with it.
Okay. Okay, good. This is really blue, but it's going to make it that you can see what I'm trying to show you. I'm going to be experimenting more and more with my new camera and getting that where I'm much more familiar with the settings. But at least it's not flickering and freezing up. So progress is made. And I'm just scrubbing this color into what is still wet from the stuff that I put on before. And that helps it give the appearance that I want it to have. That looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and add some violet to that and kind of darken it way up. I think I might have gone overboard. Because I do want it to have more of a greenish look to it. And then I'm going to just start putting some of that in there. And this is the really close-up stuff. And bring that almost right down to the waterline there. And I've got a reason for not bringing it the whole way down. But I'll explain that in a minute. Right now, I just want to put these mixed up kind of bits of shapes of color here. I don't want them, like I said, I don't want a straight line. And the tops of them, if you put it in, kind of push your paint up that way a little, it puts something that looks like a treetop in there. I'm going to green it up a little more, even so, to this end. Okay. Now, I didn't put it in a straight line across the bottom because it looks better when you can indicate a little bit of either the shoreline and some lights hitting that a little bit. I really think this is changing back and forth and you can't see the color, but I'm going to ignore it for the moment. I'm going to get a little bit of burnt sienna, not a lot, but a little bit of burnt sienna, which is a brownish color. And if you don't have that, you can mix red and a green and get a nice brown going. And I've got a little bit more to the red side by adding a little bit of purple to it. And I'm going to just touch some of that in spots to kind of help indicate that there's some dirt at the shore line over there. And again, you don't want a straight line. You don't want it everything the same. You don't want a solid line. So leave some gaps and put it a little darker in some spots than others.
Christine, when you added the violet, did you put that on top of the green?
I added some, yes, I added, for this third color here, I added a lot more blue. My camera is showing me something that looks almost black and white, which is not what I'm painting at all. Is that what you see?
Mm-mm.
You see something black and white, or do you see the color?
Colors.
Yeah, we're seeing blues.
Okay, then I'm going to leave it alone. It looks really strange on my screen, but I'm going to leave it alone. I added violet to this mix. So we started out with a darker version of the sky. Then I added some darker blue and a little bit of green. Then I added a lot more green and some violet to get this color in here, because that is our close-up bunch of trees and stuff in the reference photo. And then I cleaned my brush and I took some burnt sienna with a little bit of violet added to the burnt sienna just to redden it up really good. And and it's not red, it's a redder version of brown, because you know how some browns, you can have chocolate brown or you can have a really orangey brown. So this is more of a red brown color, and I just kind of touched it in along the edges there. And you can even get some on there, and in a couple of spots put a vertical thing to look like a tree trunk or something right at the edge of the water, if you want to. You don't have to, but those are details you can add. But don't overdo those details, because remember, this bunch of trees and shrubs and stuff is far away. And another thing about aerial perspective is that the farther things away are, the less detail there will be in them. So don't overdo details in that back part. Now, I'm going to just clean that out of my brush and get a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to use a gold yellow color for this. If you've got yellow ochre or something like that, that'll work. Just get a little bit of a golden yellow on your brush, and then just kind of drag it in a few spots to kind of, while it's still wet, you can put that in there, and it'll kind of look like the sunlight is hitting on those spots. And where I've put it, I hope it looks better on your screens than it's looking on mine. I'm going to go back in with water on my brush and just kind of work that in a little bit so that it's not quite as stark. And I want it mixing together there on the paper so that I've got a bit more of a light green where we've got some sunlight just bouncing off the top of some of these trees. That also brings them forward a little bit if you use too much strong color. So that's why we take a clean brush and go back in and kind of work it in a little bit to get it so that it's not messing up the appearance of distance, because we still want it to look like it's far away. Now, if you wanted to, you could put some bright green in a couple of these spots here, but I like it just like it is. So I'm not going to add that to mine. But, you know, do this painting more than one time. You know, play around with it on your own after today, and try out different things and experiment until you get it to where that you like it. Amy, I saw your message that said your paper is pilling. Yes, it is too wet. You'll have to let it dry a little bit more before you paint any more in the area where it's pilling. We're going to work on this area down here, so hopefully this part of your paper is dry enough that you can work here. Otherwise, just watch what we're doing and then do it once your paper's dry enough. Okay, now I'm going to get some I've got plenty of water on my brush, and I'm going to take a little bit of this last color and I'm going to put it in a different spot on my palette and add more water and look at how the color goes. And I'm looking at it and thinking it needs a bit more yellow, so I'm just going to yellow it up and lighten it a little bit more. And it's still a blue-green, but I put more yellow in it. It looks more green now, so we're not going to use a whole lot of it, but I want you to lay your brush flat. So I'm holding it like this, and I'm going to lay it on my paper like this, and I'm going to just use the flat side of the brush, not the tips, but the flat side of the brush, to just scoot a little bit of color in here. This is going to be some indication of reflection of these trees and things down into the water here. And when you start running out of paint, that's good, because you're going to be dry brushing, and you want to dry brush a little on there. And then I'm going to get it a little bit wet again. Put a little bit of, just get little bits of green dabbed in there, kind of up close to the trees area. And add water as you need to spread it around a little bit.
So you can tell just by the way my hands run.
And someone needs to check their mute button, because
Don't forget, everybody, we need to mute. It looks to me like I've got everybody muted, so I'm not sure where that sound is coming from. But fixed.
All right. Okay. Now I'm going to, while that's good and wet, I'm going to take some of my original blue color, and I'm going to just lay a little bit of more blue right on there. And I'm not putting solid, I'm not just going to paint it solid. I want to get some variation of color going here. Some darker areas, some lighter areas, some bluer areas, some greener areas, because we've got a lot of light and this water is not completely smooth like glass. It's a little choppy, so we've got things are reflecting and looking not looking smooth like this. So we're just trying to give an indication of that. And you don't need to look at this and try to put a mark on the paper everywhere there's a little mark. That doesn't really work good. You can't get a nice loose flow going. So just get some paint, put it on the side of your brush, and kind of dry brush in some left to right strokes that are going to help put these ripples in. And when you get down here, even with the boat, oh, and don't forget, leave some spaces white. When you get down here, even with the boat, you want to really darken up your paint and even have maybe a little bit more of that violet in here, because this boat is making a shadow on the water, so it's going to be really dark right up under there. And I don't have mine quite dark enough yet. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. And again, I'm using the flat side of my brush, but I'm going to get some more of the violet and put it in there, and put that in that paint right up at the bottom edge of the boat where the water line hits the boat. And then I'm just going to scoot it right on up on that first bottom part of the boat, because that under there is really dark, and you're not going to see a distinct line from where the boat stops and the water starts, not right up there at the edge there. So I'm just touching in some extra dark color right up in there, and I'm not paying attention to make sure it stops and starts in any certain spot, because we wouldn't be able to see that in real life. So we don't need it that way in our painting. And now I'm going to add some more water and go right back over onto here and just spread that back and forth in the horizontal lines. And keep in mind there's a reflection of the boat kind of down this way, so you want to make it darker. It's going to be wider at this part and more narrow as it gets down to the near the bottom of your page. And it also will get a little bit lighter in color, so I'm going to go more blue, less purple down in this part. And then add more water and put it out to the sides, but with a lot more water. And try to leave some white spots in there. And then you can actually green it up a little bit more, put a little bit more green in it as you're getting farther away from the bottom edge of the boat there, but not too dark. And this part, you don't really see it in the reference photo. Just play with it, have fun, and make it look pretty. That's really the main thing at this point. And I'm going to make this go right off the page there. And I'm going to put a little bit of this bluey purple right in here with some more water added. Then I'm going to just scrub all that color out of there. And before it's too dry, I'm going to get actually some of the burnt sienna, the brownish color, because some of the boat is brown wood color, and that's going to be reflecting into the water. So I'm going to just put some in a few places here. And you know, you're not really going to see it exactly like this in your reference photo. It's okay, you don't need to. And then wash some of that out so you got just water in your brush, maybe not quite so much, and spread that out a little so that you got some good color reactions going on. And I'm going to get some of my gold color and put a little bit of that in here because I like it, but I got too much, so I'm just going to use my brush to lift some of it back out, put some more water and spread it out a little. Take a little more burnt sienna and put it right there. And then I'm going to go back into the blue and just blue up some spots. And this is kind of where you're just playing, make it look like something you like. And the more you play and do this, the more you'll get to know what things you like, what looks good when you do it, and what you maybe want to not try the next time. But I've got something that I like the way it's going on here. Usually I put a little bit of pink in it, but I forgot this time to put any pink in the sky. And if I were to put the pink here, it wouldn't look right without it in the sky. So I'm going to leave that out. But I've got some good color going on. So I'm going to call myself done with my water. I don't really want it. Well, I'll put a little bit more ripples back in the back there with a little bit of the blue-green, but I don't want to overdo it. So you can put some lines like that just so we keep looking like it's water. And you can darken up the area close to the shoreline, but I don't always like how that looks. And in fact, I'll just show you if what I do instead is to wash the paint out of my brush and use just water on the brush, go right along the edge there and kind of lighten it. I actually like the look of that pretty good. So I'm going to do that here. I like that. And I'm going to put a little bit more of the brown right in there. Oops, that's a little bit too much. I don't want that dark of a color in there because, again, it takes away from the appearance of it being farther away. But I like that, just like that. Now I'm ready to start on the details of the sailboat and the guy in the boat. So I'm going to go ahead and just get, oops, that was paint. I thought that was a eraser dirt. I'm going to get a little tiny bit of this lilac color and move that over into a spot of my palette where I can mix a little tiny bit of blue in there. So I've got blue and lilac or lavender kind of going there, and I'm going to just put it lightly over here on this side of the sail because I want to make it look like the sail is kind of billowing in the breeze. And so I put that on there. Now I'm going to get water on there and just spread that all out. Right down this way. Then I'm going to put just the least little bit of yellow in it right there and spread that out. And I'm going to put a little bit more yellow right up here at the top edge and add a whole lot more water to spread that down into there. And that's my sail finished. That's as much color as it really needs on it. I'm going to just take my brush back into my burnt sienna and mix some of the violet into it to really darken it up. And if it's looking too red or too purple, you can put a little bit of blue into it, and that'll help take it more brown. But I want it to still be a pretty brown, and I don't want it quite as dark as that yet. So I'm going to lighten that back up. So I've got a coppery brown color going. I don't want the dark brown quite yet. And with that on my brush, I'm going to just touch my brush lightly along the edges here. And actually, I'm going to take my props out because I don't need it up at a slant anymore. And I'm going to turn it at an angle. And I'm just going to touch the edges of my brush. Let's see if I can show you here. Just those edges right there. That's what I'm going to touch to the paper. And you can see it isn't very wide. That's going to make a nice little line coming right down here. My color is darker than I wanted it to be, so let me take some of that out of the brush. And I'm just going to touch that straight down along the edge there, right down into the boat. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this other spar or whatever it happens to be called. I don't know what it is. I'm going to put that right coming out down here. Kind of can't see my line where it got to, but that's okay. I know where I drew it, so I'll just put it in there. Now my brush was not quite like I wanted it, so I've got a little bit of a messy thing, so I'm going to rinse all that paint out of there and clean that up a little bit to get it like I like it. Just with clean water on my brush, that fixes, it's like an eraser. Okay, so that's good. This part's good, but I'm going to use the clean brush a little bit on one edge to create a bit of a highlight because it's against that dark color there and you don't see it real well. So I'm just wiggling my brush a little bit. I'm not really scrubbing, I'm just wiggling a little tiny bit. Let's see if I can zoom in and see if I can show that to you. You don't see it real well. How about if I hold it up here? There, okay. So I just put my brush here and wiggle it, and it's not dripping water, it's just barely damp. And I wiggle it a little bit right there, and it'll lift a little bit of paint. I got to be careful or I'll do too much. And if you're not getting the results you like with that, there's another way to do it, which we'll do after it's dry. So let me zoom back out. Actually, let's stay zoomed in for finishing the boat. Okay, so we need a little bit of that color, and we want to add a little bit of yellow into that brown that we used for the mast and that other thing. Add a little bit of yellow in there so that your boom is not quite as not quite the same color. And I'm going to paint it in a way that it allows a little bit of the sail to show underneath the bottom edge there. And then the same thing out here at the end. We want to lift a little color so that we got a lighter thing happening against that dark background. Put it up here so you can see it again. Okay, see what I did? And I just scooted the paint around a little bit over there. And when that's dry, we can go back into it and either lift some more, or I'll show you how to use something to scrape that out of there. All right, now we're going to put a little bit of that lavender blue color on the hat because we need a little bit of shadow on this side. And I just touched a little color in there. And now I'm going to spread that around with the wet paintbrush. Till I get some shadow going, and put a little bit out into the bill area. You don't need to worry with getting it real exact. It kind of looks better when you just do a loose approach and just kind of put a little bit in there and leave this side of his hat mostly white, like unpainted if you can. So you've got a little bit of shape being created to his head there. And I'm not seeing it on my screen, so let's go back here. I'm going to have to just hold it up in front of the camera. If I hold it really close, you can see it better. So I'll make that adjustment before next time. I'll adjust where my camera is, how close I can get it to the paper. All right, so now we're going to take the, well, while we still have this brush in our hand, get some more of that burnt sienna. And you can use just the straight burnt sienna for this, and just touch it on to this back of the boat. And when you're part of the way over, don't forget those little holes, those openings in the back there. When you're part of the way over, add some of your gold yellow color to the mix, and that'll change up the color a little bit and add interest, so you're not just painting a solid color across there. Then add a little bit of a purpley color to it to darken it up some. And don't forget you have those openings, so put those there. Get the back of your boat put on, and then I'm going to just kind of dry brush a little bit in right there, just because I like the look of it like that. And that's, I'm leaving my back of my boat done. Well, get most of the paint out of the brush, get it mostly dry, and give that another little tap to knock it down just a little bit right there. But that's how I'm going to do the back of my boat. Then I'm going to take that same batch of colors and fill in the front of the boat. And I think I had you, when we drew it last week, we drew a little plank seat across there, and I'm going to put that in with my gold yellow color. Then I'm going to paint around that with this darker color to fill in the interior of the boat. You can even put a lot of purple in there to make it dark, because we don't really see anything down in there, so we don't need much details. Now what I'm going to do is, I was going to do the man, but let's finish this boat. Take some of your burnt sienna color and just the same way we did the mast, just touch on this oar, and then I want you to paint the whole oar that color. And then we're going to take some of the darker color, the more chocolate brown that you've added a lot of violet to, and just paint this side of the oar. And that gives it its shape on the underneath. And then if you want, you can touch a little bit on the underneath of the oar going up through there. And that'll help give it some shape. Then I'm going to put a little bit of dark right here to indicate better that opening on that side, and a little bit along here, because his jacket is going to be dark colored. But on here I'm going to just put it across the bottom, because his pants are going to be a lighter color and we'll see those through there. So I just put that like that. Now using this same brush, I'm going to get some really dark blue. Whatever's your darkest blue, get a really nice dark mix of it, and you can put in a little bit of green if you want to, because it makes it pretty. And with that dark color on there, I'm going to put in this top panel on this boat.
Christine, you have 10 minutes.
Okay. Then we're going to get some more blue and touch in more blue at this end because we want to have some interest going on, so we don't want it a solid color. And then I'm going to wipe most of that paint off my brush. I did not add water, I just washed most of the paint off the brush, and I'm going to just draw that down to fill in the rest of the way there. So it's not like I just took a paintbrush and one solid color across there. I want to have it having that interest going on, so it's not solid. Then rinse that out of your brush, and with that all or nearly all out of there, pick up some of your gold color or your light brown, mix it with a little bit of green, not a whole lot, but a little bit of greenish tinge to this color, and do the next panel down. And I've got a lot on there, so I'm going to add some more water to my brush and then just spread that paint back to fill in the rest of that panel. So it's darker at the front than it is at the back, but that's good because that'll look pretty. Then I want to get the darker color, so add a bit more green to it and put that bottom panel on. It's probably the same color as the next panel up, but it's more in shadow, so it's going to have a darker color, a darker appearance to it. And it's all down close to the water, so it's got some shadow and some color reflecting back up onto it. And that is good for that. So the boat is finished. So I'm going to hold that up so you can see it. Give it a second to focus. And it's not doing it. Why is it not doing it? Really close? It was popping into focus earlier. Anyway, I think you can see good enough to see I've got a little bit darker color on that third panel down there than I do on that panel. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of light tannish color in here to show where his leg is, and we'll get some inside. Let me find my small brush. Where did I put it? Here it is. We'll get some inside of here because I want to indicate that that's his leg, and so you can see his pant leg through there. So we'll put a little bit of khaki color there. We're going to mix up a little bit of a light, pale skin tone, and put a little tiny dot of it right there at right there, right at the top of the oar. And then we'll put a little bit in the face, and then we'll darken it up with purple a little bit and put more back here. Then we're going to color dark for his hair and his jacket. But I'm going to put that down here so that I can paint, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing, or know what I'm doing, even though it's not focusing as well as I would like it to. So I'm starting off with making a little bit of a skin tone. And you make your skin tone whatever color you want to make it be. Just keep it very light, at least at first. Put a little dab of it on right there where the hand is, and then put it on this face, and don't get too much of it on there. Then I'm going to put a little bit more purple into it and just touch it right in this edge here, because that gives some shadow and some form or contour to his face. Now I'm going to get some light gold yellow, and I'm going to add a little purple to that and call it khaki, and paint the leg of those pants. It's a little bit more orangey than what I wanted, but I'll just add water and take some of the color back out, and it's pretty good like that. Excuse me. And then paint the part down in there. Now he's got his pant leg in. Now I'm going to, because I don't want you to paint the hair too quickly, we need to let that dry for a minute. So go back into your dark blue color. You can change it up a little if you want to, or use the same color you already have. And we're going to just put this jacket on him, which this part's almost just like a paint by numbers. Excuse me a second. I'm going to put a little bit more violet in there just because I want it to be darkened up so it'll show. I want there to be a distinction right down here at the boat edge. So I put a nice dark color there. And I'm putting it over kind of at a slant, and I'm going to put some on the underside of his sleeve. Excuse me. Then rinse my brush a little bit and take the water that's in my brush and spread that around. And if you don't think it's dark enough, you can add more, drop more paint in. But paint that all the way down to where you paint his whole sleeve. I'm going to drop in a little bit more color because I just think I would like it all darker. Now, he also has a light colored hoodie on. So I'm going to take some much lighter blue. And I'm going to just put that hoodie right in there, which is basically just a line across the top there that goes up into his hair. And because it's really wet, it's really blending on my paper. If it blends too much, just use your paintbrush to lift some back up off. But I like it like that. Now, the last thing is his hair and his sunglasses. And you're going to want your paper to be dry there before you do this part. But all you will do is get some color that's a nice, excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. You want a nice dark color. And I'm going to actually add some of this red into this because it'll darken it right up. There. Now I've got a nice dark color there. I don't want too much on the brush. I'm going to just barely touch that line that I put right in the front of his face there. And then I'm going to put a little line going back. That's his sunglasses. And then I'm going to put some burnt sienna into this puddle for a hair color and just paint the shape of some hair on the back of there, coming right down into the hoodie and right down into his jacket. And I'm going to touch a little dot for that part in the back of his ball cap there. Then take most of that out of my brush, tamp it on my paper towel, and then just wipe across there to get the hoodie color in again. And he's pretty much done. If you want, you can, put one of those little, an M shape, put a birdie in the sky or something, but don't overdo the detail.
Christine, could you zoom in a little bit on your man?
Yes.
Please.
Let's see if my zoom will work now. There. It's not focusing as good as it did earlier. If I hold it right up here and hold it steady.
Cool.
I think the holding it steady part is where I'm having trouble now. It was focusing better earlier. I don't know what has happened.
That's okay. It just makes it look like a windy lake.
Okay, well, it is windy. It's supposed to look like it's a windy lake. But you see, we just gave like the indication of his leg there, but that's all we really needed. And we didn't need to paint an actual hand. We just got kind of the indication of it. And I don't have a whole lot of detail going on anywhere in here, but it gives the indication of what we needed. And it also looks, oh, there, it's in focus for the second. Look real quick right now. It gives us the right indication of what we needed. We don't want to put too much detail because that messes up the depth perception. it doesn't look right when we've got all the details matching. If this was sharply defined and detailed as this is, then we would not have that depth going on. Okay, so I'm finished.
So everybody, if you'd like to unmute yourselves and ask questions, maybe one at a time. First off, Christine, thank you very much. Secondly, don't forget, everybody, I'm going to try to take a picture. So wait a minute, let me get mine.
Don't leave quick.
So
hold up your picture.
So everybody turn on their videos and hold up your painting and keep it up just in case, because it takes me a second. Okay. Julie, where's yours? Sally, Marcia, Ann.
Picture.
Who else? Suzanne.
Can you see me?
Lois, is that you? Yes, we can.
You. I'm looking for where.
Yes, Lois. Yes, we can see her. There she is. Don't you see her? Hold up your painting, Lois.
I don't have one.
Okay, well, just smile.
I found you now. When you talk,
just smile. Just smile nicely, Lois. That's good. Okay, everybody. DL, pull yours back some so we can see it better.
Myrna, turn on your video so we can see you.
Lynn Ogden, bring yours closer to the camera. Get up away from the table and bring it over, and your friend too. Okay, who else? Anne, you need to go yours higher. Lois, bring yours up a little closer to your smiling face. Yay! I think we got everybody this time. Okay, ready? Okay, hold it back up, Amy. Sorry. Okay, one more time. Perfect, you guys. Okay, anybody have questions?
I just want to tell Chris, thank you. I've been working with her for years, but I never saw her actually teach. And she's a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And I just enjoyed it so much today, even though I didn't paint. It was fantastic watching her and watching everybody else. And thank you to the two facilitators. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Lois, and we'll expect to see you next month and in January, too. See, once you join us, you can never get away, ever.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're here to stay.
Thanks.
And you'll get a flyer, everybody, about the next upcoming classes. You have the dates, and I'll be sending the photo references on the flyer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody, did you get all the links that I put into the chat? I put a ton of links in the chat for you guys. I put Christine's webpage, her Facebook page, her YouTube page. I put the email. If you want to join us that Thursday for that lecture from Robert, send an email and just say, please include me in the demo next week. So, and I put links to his pages. So I think we got everything covered.
It's not in the chat. It's not in the chat.
Look on
Go up farther and
there is nothing.
Go up to the top of the chat. It's in the very beginning of the chat. I put a ton of links in there. And if you don't see it, I'll send them to Julie and ask her to put them in, but just keep scrolling back up to the very beginning of the chat. It's to everybody. So if you guys don't see them, that's okay. I'll send them to Julie and she can send them out. Okay, Julie?
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate it. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
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 It's kind of fun to watch everybody come in and go out.
I'm sorry, I was talking. I didn't hear what you said, Jackie.
Christine, I just want to show you. I did this because I did 2 pencil drawings. So I did this one on my own before yours.
That looks great, Elaine.
Just a little different, doing a different background, different
It's beautiful. I'm very happy to see that because I love it when everyone takes this and does more with it than just only when we're having class, you know? I'm glad to know you're working outside of the class time.
Not working, funning. I'm funning,
yes, sorry.
not working. That's important.
Love it, Elaine.
I liked your sail was fun. Everybody's sail is the same color, and yours was a lot of fun. Yours looks like a racing sail.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah, I guess
If
so.
I had a sailboat, I would want it to be a racing sail.
Yeah. It was just interesting. Yeah, I wanted to see how mine would compare to when you tell us what to do, you know?
Oh, I like
So I
both
wanted
of
to
yours.
see what I came up with on my own, so.
I like both of them. Beautiful. Paint some more.
Thank you.
We're creators.
Right.
Hope to see you guys next time.
Bye, Amy.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice
Bye, Elaine. Bye, Mercedes. Bye, Diane. See you guys all.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks for doing this. The library too. Thank you, friends.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mercedes.
You're welcome.
I don't leave until I'm kicked out, so sorry.
Well, now we know we got to kick you out. Hey, I hope you had fun. Hope you made a really beautiful sailboat painting that you're happy with. And mostly, I hope that you'll keep watercolor painting. If you have not already subscribed to my channel and you want to get notified when I put more videos up, please hit the subscribe button. And also, if you hit the like button and maybe give me a comment in the comment section below, that will help me know what kinds of videos you are interested in and want to see more of. Thanks a lot, and I'll hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.